staff daily. In fact, I would say half your senior management team has contact with my team on a weekly basis. I mean, to the point of even your CAO invited me to the senior management retreat last year workshop. That I mean, that's how closely we work with you folks. We're always looking for synergies between our two organizations. Certainly, we worked with Norfolk County this past year to fast track a water main easement on our Black Creek Conservation Area property to help you folks move along, and I'll, you know, it changed our priorities, but we made sure we knew you were under a timeline. We made it happen. We've worked with you in the past. When the Emerald Ash Borer first showed up in Norfolk County, we took our full forestry crew and put it with your guys for 3 days trying to control that particular situation. So we're always exploring opportunities between our two organizations. I think Keith and Chris can tell you, and Kevin, I'm pretty relentless when I'm looking for opportunities, and again, it's all designed to improve the service and try to save local taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I know, Mr. Chairman, just one last thing. The mayor last week, I did challenge the mayor with the percentage increase, and he asked me to come up with some ideas, so that's why I thought about the idea of the Quants Dam. What about, have you thought about some sort of partnership arrangement between Norfolk County and yourself on the tree bylaw, like maybe even doing the enforcement of the tree bylaw?
We, through you, Mr. Chair, to the members, I can tell you certainly we've been working actively with Norfolk County on the FSC certification process. Again, that's been the two of us, and actually SCORE have been we've been the spearhead to that particular initiative. For those who might not be familiar with that, it's essentially much like an ISO 2000 kind of designation, that we're trying to show that the product is environmentally harvested and treated and respectful to the local environment, and really it's designed to open up worldwide markets to Norfolk wood product. It's certainly the message we've got from local sawmills, and that is that we need to move in this direction if we're going to stay viable, that there is a 5 to 10% premium. Again, we've had these discussions. We've been working actively with Norfolk County on this. If Norfolk County came forward and said, you know, we'd like to see more of an integrated forestry program, we certainly would be open-minded to it. I can tell you the members have certainly had those discussions. So.
Okay, thanks, Cliff. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Going to Councillor Oliver.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for your presentation, Cliff. I have two quick questions. You did touch on the significant drop in your community support in the draft budget. I think you referenced the OPG contract as having not been signed this year, similar to what you've had in past years for 2014. Is there any chance at all that it will still come at some point, or is because of the demise of our Nanticoke generating station, is OPG kind of getting out of the business, so to speak, in terms of being able to support those projects?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the member, good question. I'd like to stay positive on this. The OPG program has been very good to this area, probably generating roughly $175,000 investment in this area for certainly the last 3-4 years. And again, that's all money that went in the ground. But I got to say, I am apprehensive. There has been a change in the guard there. Steve Hounsel is retired. I thought it was interesting, on Steve's last day of retirement, he actually came down here to Norfolk. He wanted to spend his last day here. He was impressed with the tree planting program. He's impressed with what's going on with the forestry activities in this area. And Steve certainly made it clear to me that with the changing of the guard, that management at OPG is re-looking at its priorities right now, and so I can't say, I'm not really sure where it's going to go.
Right. Thank you.
Councillor?
That will be a real loss if we do lose that in a permanent way.
Councillor Wells.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much, Mr. Radvanitsky, for being here. It's always a pleasure to see you. And I think the important thing for me is that it's much easier to hear somebody speak to the budget than it is when you look at it on a piece of paper. You explain where the funding is coming from and where the needs are and how you have addressed those. You've married it together very well. And my final comment, Mr. Evaniski, to you is thank you for all you do in your conservation authority for the citizens of Norfolk County. We certainly appreciate it.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions? Mayor Trevally.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I've asked Chris to go back one slide so we can certainly show here the community support and the tremendous reduction that's happened in that one area. And I want to give council and everyone who's watching and listening tonight the assurance that the 4 members of Norfolk County that sit around that table don't have their eyes closed or their ears shut and covered. Anyone who knows me knows that I question the detail of any report that I read. You know, we could have said, okay, let's fudge the numbers a bit and let's go to the revenue side and let's increase the user fees by $50,000. And we wouldn't be talking tonight, but we probably wouldn't have achieved that goal. This is an honest budget. And I want to ask Mr. Evaniski if he would please comment, because this came up last week during the discussions. Species at risk, how does that affect our harvesting of wood?
Thank you, Your Worship, through the member, or through the chair to the members. Certainly, it is challenging, and if you want me to specifically talk about how it's having an impact, I can take you back 2 years ago. The challenge we were having at the time was, in particular with the flowering dogwood, was that I think, as a lot of you know, we hire an ecologist every year to come in and mark our bushes before we go in and conduct any forest management activities, so that we are respectful of all federal and provincial legislation that is out there. 2 years ago, you know, as you can imagine, when you are harvesting in a sustainable fashion, your species at risk, may I say, might become less than endangered species at risk and propagate and move on. And we appreciate that as an organization. That's part of our goal. Part of the challenge is that sometimes I can tell you that these species come on like gangbusters in a very short period of time in a very small area. And as a result, and I can tell you, we have areas of bush that have hundreds of stems of flowering dogwood. And so the challenge 2 years ago was that really the consultant didn't know what the setbacks were. They had identified these species there and really had advised us that he didn't want to see us doing any cutting in this particular bush. We knew that there was probably about 40 acres we couldn't touch, but there was certainly 60 acres we felt that we could. 60 acres on our budget is huge, and is probably, depending on species type, and that can be a $50,000 to $60,000 hit. So at the time, the board, we talked about it. We went and met with, we were fortunate Environmental Commissioner Gord Miller was able to open some doors for us, and we were able to show our plans and show how successful we were not only in managing the forest responsibly, but also in propagating various species that were on the list. This year, the challenge is that Ministry of Natural Resources out of Peterborough has decided they do know what the setbacks are now, and that from a stem of flowering dogwood, I think we're looking at a 20-meter radius, which you can imagine is a 40-meter circumference. Well, if you apply that to 100 or a couple hundred different stems in one particular property, that's massive. 2 years ago, we were able to go through those zones with, as long as we didn't, we blue tape everything, so as long as we didn't hit anything, we were fine. Now they're telling us they don't even want us going through those zones. So that really impairs our ability to get in on particular properties. You can imagine if you had all the species at roadside but you had a particular piece of bush at the back that you want to get in and harvest, but if you can't go through these habitat zones, then that really negates you from harvesting that property at the back. So.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Cliff, for that. So let me put it in context for everyone. because there are some detractors out there who think, well, we'll just sell off the land and we'll get some money and we'll just use it the way we want to use it and that kind of stuff, which they don't understand. But the provincial funding is down. Species at risk and emerald ash borer are up, challenging us. Community support is down from some specific areas. And the monies that the LPRCA did receive for the sale of any lands are locked up, and the use of the interest that's gained from that investment can only be used for certain purposes, not to offset this stuff. And I'll just close with one more question to Mr. Evaninsky, Mr. Chairman. That is, and it's all you need to know is answer is yes, I guess, because we have a lot of time we're using up here. We have some major challenges on the water control features, dams that we own, old, crumbling in some cases. That's not an unfamiliar story for around this table. The health of the watershed, another issue that has to be addressed, and Bacchus Mill. Are those serious issues that we're facing?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the members, yes.
Councillor Wells.
Thank you very much. Very, very quickly, I noticed that you have now, I think, sold the property, the former Long Point Conservation Authority's headquarters.
Right.
Have you located or assigned that revenue somewhere?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the members, right now, the proceeds from that sale, which closed last Thursday, are going into general revenues. Again, as I pointed out, our unrestricted reserve is at about 377 right now, 10% of our overall budget. It was felt by the audit committee that right now we'd be best to just put that in the reserve and see how the rest of this year shakes out.
Anything further? If not, Mr. Evaninsky, I want to thank you for coming forward and highlighting some of those issues, and it's good that the rest of council, over and above the 4 members, hear what those issues are.
Great.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Moving on to deputations now. We have a